So thanks everyone for joining our webinar. Um, we are hosting deal to delivery, visibility and margin control for technology and IT and professional services companies. Um, and basically, just to set the stage, it's very hard for companies to manage complex projects inside, Salesforce and doing the delivery and managing sales end to end, and also tracking profitability too. We thought this was one of the use cases which a lot of IT services companies are struggling today. We'll cover. Can you please go to the next slide, please? So, quick introduction about ourselves. My name is Sashank. I'm the advisor at Apsona, and I help Apsona for go-to-market strategies and advisory initiatives. Handing it over to Satyajit.
Thank you, Shashank. Yeah, my name is Satyajit, or you can call me Sunny. I'm a solutions engineer based in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. I've been working with Apsona since August 2025. And yeah, I'm so delighted that we'll be able to talk about this lovely use case that Shashank has just narrated in the next 30 minutes.
Thanks, Satyajit. In terms of agenda, what we'll do is basically we'll walk through who we are as a company, and we'll walk through the challenges that the IT services companies are consistently struggling with, which is from project margin to the post-deal backed by real data. So we'll be covering that, and we will also be covering the demo, which Satyajit will show us the deal to delivery in action inside Salesforce with the realistic project scenarios. And we'll try to walk out of the meeting with, good understanding of how to have this solution in place so that the projects can be tracked well. Going to the next slide, please. About Apsona, we are 100% Salesforce native platform company. That means no middleware, no third-party logins, no syncing issues. Your data stays in Salesforce. Our capabilities includes multi-object reporting, document and email merges. We also call it as data management, and think of us as all-in-one data management platform within Salesforce, and we have been in the ecosystem for almost 13 years, with around 1,800 plus clients globally. Most of the clients are primarily here in the U.S. and Europe and Australia too. At an average, we have 4.89 as ratings, which is great as a proof. Going to the next slide, please. So why delivery fails to project margin? I think that's the core topic here. Generally, you see that professional services companies or IT services companies, the sales teams celebrate the deals by closing it in Salesforce, but the moment the project is handed over to delivery, there is a disconnect. The visibility breaks down, and it's because we have different teams, different tools that they're used to, and oftentimes the delivery team also relies on other outside resources too, which leads to spreadsheets tracking or using some other platform altogether, and that's where we see a lot of clients struggling with revenue leakage, and the sales team is not able to understand on weekly basis what's happening in the project, whether it's is the project moving smoothly? Is the customer happy? Are there any change orders? Is the billing happening on time? Do we have any resource issues? Are there any scope creeps identified, or are there any additional project opportunities too? So, and again, resource utilization, project overruns, and more complex the projects are, more fragmented it can get, right? So that's the challenge that we actually come across with a lot of clients. Going to the next slide. And according to Harvard, Harvard did a study with 1,471 projects, and they found out that 1 in 6 projects become what they call as a black swan, the project that spirals far beyond original scope and budget. We are talking about 200% of cost overruns, 70% in schedule overruns on average for those projects. The question that companies ask is how many of you have lived through those black swan projects? Personally, I have been in the professional services industry for past 16 years. Every year I see a couple of these scenarios. Going to the next slide, please.
Just a question just for myself, Shashank, like you say a couple of times per year, is that so that's consistently over almost every year? Is that really just a very
not for my projects all the time, but
that's great. Yeah.
Generally that happens when the scoping was not done well,
Right.
or in the middle of the project there was a change request that came in from the client which was not handled properly. The expectation was not set. But more importantly, mapping it in Salesforce itself is key, which makes everyone on the same page, right? So I have seen this happening time and again, and that's where I tell to my colleagues all the time that do the scoping correctly and be aligned with your team end to end until the project is delivered. So good. Yeah. Going to the next slide, please. And again, even McKinsey and University of Oxford has analyzed a lot of data points around IT projects, and the findings are that these projects run 45% over budget, 7% over schedule on average, and 56% of value gap is there, which is an important number to note. Going to the next slide.
Quite a sizable amount, man. Yeah.
Now, how Apsona and Salesforce can actually help here. Apsona creates a continuous data chain across entire deal to delivery lifecycle. So think from opportunity closure to project creation to resource allocation, billing, and invoicing. Imagine having real-time dashboards available on weekly basis, or getting statuses by email, or just logging into Salesforce to understand how the projects are going. Also optimizing your resourcing structure and tracking how that allocation goes, forecasting and scheduling wherever the project is over, issues are creeping in. That's where use Apsona to make sure that it's triggered and communicated to the right team members. And again, this is designed for executives who care about the P&L, profit and losses, who are accountable for these projects, and also more importantly for sales reps to understand how their projects are going, because that will affect their next deal. Going to the next slide, please. Um, Here, again, Satyajit will be taking over, the demo part of the session, but there are three pillars here: replace spreadsheets with Apsona tabular views and grids to get you a single view, single source of truth across all Salesforce objects. So you're not doing any exports, no manual updates, tracking your project margin with real-time utilization and capability tracking means you're managing the margin and avoid any of the leakages. And then the last part is the automation of the delivery, scheduling your reports, and having the dashboard access in such a way that the team has access to the latest project updates. With that, I'll just pass it on to Satyajit for taking over the demo and showing how this will work.
Thanks, Shashank. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. So before we go into that, I think the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on, is probably going to be talking a lot about replacing the spreadsheets with tabular views and grids. So that'll be the kind of the focus. That's kind of like one of the really core products that Apsona has. So before we go into that and just dive deep into a demo, I'm going to just briefly give it a high level. Yeah, it's just a comparison between Excel, Salesforce, and Apsona tabular views. And, as Shashank has already expertly talked about, when you have three different teams like sales, delivery, and finance, these are three different silos. No one is exactly sure how well integrated each of them are with their specific data sources. One team might see something else, another team will see something else, and then, there may be issues. So kind of like, how can then we kind of like do something that we can try and make all these three teams see the same thing at the same time, and, be able to make decisions based on this data that everyone is seeing, the exact data that they're all three seeing together. So here, just when you talk about just, basic Excel spreadsheets, first of all, it's just a static view of your data at that specific snapshot of time. You have to do a lot of formulas. There are spreadsheets that might be a separate Excel files or CSVs. Merging it together can become a bit of, can be painstaking as well. A lot of them, you have to do a lot of these formulas to calculate things, and that can kind of like be problematic. Obviously, I don't think I need to speak more about that. So yeah, you need really an Excel god to exactly make all those things together. Salesforce obviously is a CRM, the most biggest CRM in the world, and yeah, they've designed it in a way where you can have views of your like first specific object, but there are of course restrictions into how you can actually view that data at a specific time. There's a classic, of course, with the reportings. There's only a few objects you can include at any given time. The live data, I can only view one specific object most of the time. And then no calculated fields across objects. That's kind of like a big issue as well. Apsona kind of like takes on what Salesforce has created well and builds on that even further. Now, as I just briefly mentioned, one of the big limitations in Salesforce is trying to put as many objects together in one specific report to make decisions. These might be the data fields from objects in 3, 4, 5, 6 different objects that one needs to be put together, which are really important to make a decision. So here, if we're just giving a brief description, so if you want to have like, if we're just going to talk about objects such as opportunities, projects, and billing, and they're not exactly the same thing together. And maybe you can want to have something else from other departments, other objects. Putting that together can be a painstaking task in Salesforce, maybe even impossible. And Excel, I just already spoke about how hard that is. So what Apsona, specifically with their, many views, but the tabular view and also the grids, helps you just view all that data in one specific view. And we're going to now be able to demonstrate that. For that, just give me a second to get back into my Apsona instance. To go here. Oh, scared. Show my screen again. So yeah, jumped ahead into something. So here we are in Apsona, which is a tab that you can find within Salesforce. You already have all your many objects that you can customize within your settings to different objects within yeah, your Salesforce instance essentially, and that can be customized. We're here in more so a non-profit success pack org. And currently, we can go into any one of these objects that we've already created. We're just going to simply look at the opportunities object, and we're going to look at tabular view. Now, the default view when you go to any object in Apsona, whoops, yeah, my hand, is to see this console view here, where we have a list panel, we have details of the specific record, in this case, Adams 2025, April 29th, $100. We have details about it, which you can easily customize, and also related information of that specific record within the opportunity, essentially with objects that are related to yeah, opportunities, such as the opportunity contact role campaign, and you can easily customize this. So this is what we call the console view. This can also be the layout can be easily adjusted. Yeah, you can change it each of the three tabs that I talked about. But we're going to focus here on not only the console view, but we're going to look at what is called the tabular view. Now, what is nice about the tabular view is that when you just see the data in this form, and we'll go into detail, is that it kind of just looks like what you would see in Excel. So that's kind of nice. It's tabular, it's tables, rows and columns, and they have all these things together all in one. And so what is nice about Apsona's tabular view is that essentially, even though here we have a context where we're talking about it in the nonprofit case, um, you can now essentially start from the opportunity object. So this is what we're interested in. And then we can also bring data from additional objects there. So we will start with that, and then we'll go into a bit more in detail as we go along. So first of all, we can just, this is what we've created, and we can use something called the Set Columns tab. So the Set Columns tab allows you, we starts with we're in the opportunities object, so we start with all the fields in opportunities, the opportunity object. And essentially here, you can pick any field from the first the opportunity object. You can also, if you know the fields that you want to include, you can also type that in there, and then you can just simply drag it across to this side, and until it appears this side, then you can once it's appeared on this side, then that will appear in your view that you've created. As I said, we're not, even though we've started in the opportunities object, we can go far more, and we can go into related objects of opportunities. In this case, account, batch, campaign, contact, matching gift, and so many. These are objects that you have that opportunities are related to in this nonprofit case org. And if this is how you're happy about it, you can just save this as a new field set, and you can give it a name. I've already created one here, and yeah, once you've created a field set, essentially, you can yeah, just simply go into it. So I can go into this, and yeah, you see a different view that you will see now from this compared to. And what was important to mention is, as I said, when we're doing the set columns here, is that you're not limited to data from one specific object. So you have data from many different objects that you include in one report. So here, for example, I've taken most of the data from the opportunity object and related to the account. Okay, so then you can view this data together. You can also create one another nice thing about Apsona is you can create filters where you can simply constrain your data to the specific type of records that you're interested in. So if we can just simply want to look at the account type, for example, we want to just simply keep it to households. We see that down there. Currently, we have 90 records that we see. And when we just restrict it to household, we have 88 records. So this specific use case comes from, like I said, a nonprofit use case. As Shashank was talking a bit about earlier about, project delivery and their how well it's being utilized and many other things related to that, you can also build a report with those objects from your Salesforce instance and package it together in a specific report. Of course, they have to be related to the object that you've started with. In our case, we've started with opportunities, but in your other org, you can starting from other objects. But what's nice about this is that you have all these objects related in one specific view. You can do many things, such as, you can filter, you can look into specific records if you like. You can also, what's nice about Apsona in this case is something called inline editing. So if you see something that, okay, for this specific opportunity that this was no longer closed won, you can actually change it on the spot, and that gets updated immediately. And if you really want to do it, you can click save. We're not going to do that here. Then when you click save, then basically the data is updated in your Salesforce instance instantaneously. And that's really important because as we're talking about three different teams or more, and they have to have the same view of the data, then um, you want them to make sure that they have, like, everyone is seeing the same data at the same specific time. So that's really important. So even when it comes to like data management, which is a big thing of Apsona, you can use many tools to be able to view the data, change the data, etc. And then, yeah, you can even drill up, drill down, depending on, say, we're talking here about opportunities, and say you want to then look up to a specific account, for example, or contact. You can just go here, and I specifically checked all those opportunities, and now for all those specific opportunities, we get to the specific contacts that are related to that specific opportunities, and they've also have their own tabular view, and you can also yeah, if you've saved a specific view that you'd like, you can also view that. So that is really nice part about the tabular view. You can do a lot of data management with it. Specifically, you can take data from fields from objects from different objects together, put it into one report, and then be able to, view your data and hopefully create less data leakage across. So when you have these three teams like sales, delivery, and finance, and others, they can make decisions on the same concurrent data. And what's nice about it, it's got a nice Excel view, so everyone really kind of has this. Yeah, a lot of us have grown up within Microsoft Excel, so we see these rows and columns. This is a very easy way to understand things. So that's kind of like the thing about Apsona's tabular view. We'll just also briefly talk about a grid view, which is essentially similar to a tabular view, but this is kind of just simply less for specifically reporters, more so for people who just simply want to view specific records, essentially. So this is also very similar to a tabular view. It's got an Excel-like view, and you can also create, a specific view that where you can specifically see specific accounts, acknowledgement dates. You can adjust this, of course, to your specific use case, and then you can change records on the spot. You can view this. This is more designed for viewer users, people who just need to simply see data and maybe update data on the fly. You can create you can create kind of like highlighting rules, such that if there's a specific account with a specific amount, that can also be adjusted accordingly and flag the records. So this is two great things about Apsona's tabular and grids views. And then specifically, I'll just go back to our slideshow. So that kind of summarizes the tabular and grids view. What's nice then is also we can also create a nice dashboard from it. So this is just a sample dashboard here. But essentially, once you've also created all the data together from your tabular view and you want to export it, say, to a Tableau or Power BI tool, you'll have basically the latest data available to you on the spot, and you can create your dashboards. In Apsona, we also have a charts and visualizations tool, but we'll just, for this demo, we'll just simply show this here. And so this is where, your data can be seen on the spot. As I said here, we've been talking about here, like ahead of delivery, this is what a dashboard they may want to view of their specific resource utilizations, their margins, and specific key KPIs here on the spot as well. So that's kind of like a brief view of how Apsona can help many tech companies and consulting companies to deal with their project management essentially. And Sashank, do you want to maybe take the rest or?
Yeah. So key takeaways are basically, get your real-time visibility with tabular views and grids and replace from spreadsheets and with one single view with Salesforce using Apsona. Track your project margins through reports and dashboards, um, and ensure that there are no revenue leakages from early stages itself. Optimize your resources, capabilities, so that you can further allocate resources before it becomes a bottleneck, and quantify your impact, and do a better forecast backlogging. So in overall, everything that you saw today is available now, and we have actually executed the same similar kind of use cases at many of the clients. We can help you assist too. With that, I'll just we can do some Q&A.
Yeah.
So we'll see if there are any questions, and if not, and I think we are also on time too. What we can do,
Yes.
we can take the questions and then we can respond back with the emails. But
Yeah.
appreciate the time, and thank you, Satyajit, for your time and effort today.
Yeah, thank you, Shashank, as well. This was a very nice thing to do, and yeah, learned a lot. And yeah, hopefully also the people viewing this will also gain a lot from this and wants to know more about it. We'd love to show you more about it as well. Please contact us.